Tantrums, boredom, violence, husbands, complaining, whining, attachment, all manner of questions have come in this week, and I am here in April's No Question Goes Unanswered challenge, which means that I'm answering every question as well as and as in-depth as I can. Now, this challenge, this reset, this No Question Goes Unanswered is part of me bringing out to you from behind the paywall, the type of thing that we do inside the studio. Inside the studio, I run office hours. I answer every question. We go in depth. We coach. I invite resistance and pushback. And we follow up, and we are holding each other accountable on our projects, on our goals, on shaping our children's behavior, on building a strong family culture. If that's something you're interested in, make sure to check it out, because doors are opening right now at highfam.com/the studio. Very, very soon, doors will open, and you can get in on early bird pricing. You can check it out. And if you feel like you need support in your parenting, you need direction, you need to block out all the noise, you need clarity on how to build a strong family culture and raise resilient kids and be the leader that you know you're meant to be, then that is what I do, and I would love to help you. Now, as part of helping you decide if it's the right fit for you, figuring out if we want to work together, if you're a good fit for the studio, what I'm going to do is answer all the questions that are coming in this month, and you can test drive my coaching style. I don't expect anyone to sign up for a program that they don't know if they connect with the coach. Now, you can watch my free YouTube videos, and you can listen to these free coaching sessions. I will answer your questions. I will not hold back. I will be as countercultural and controversial and in-depth as I possibly can be, as I usually am. But all within the spirit of actually helping you with real answers, helping you build a strong family culture. Today, I have a lot of questions to get through, so let's get right into them. Okay. The first one is from Miss Melalina. Hello. And she says, explosive tantrums from my 6-year-old is my biggest challenge in my parenting right now. Hitting me, biting, banging down the door. And she's asking, what can I do? So let me know in the comments right now, if you're watching me live, if this is something that you've experienced. I have. Explosive, violent tantrums. It's very difficult. It's very challenging. And I actually have another question coming in with a similar question from the Jessica Layton, hello, who says, my 7-year-old becomes violent when anxiety hits. We're waiting on the doctor appointment to pinpoint the exact issue. It might be ADHD, but meanwhile, she's wondering how she can handle it. That's what she writes. Okay, so have you dealt with, had the problem of a violent tantrum from an older child? Now, we're going to talk about violent or explosive tantrums from toddlers soon, because that's a little bit of a separate category. But right now, I want to help you and coach you on how to actually handle a tantrum from an older child, a child where this behavior starts to be, it feels less age appropriate. It feels that it might be actually intruding on their social skills, on their connections with others, on their ability to be in social settings, or on the family atmosphere at home. It's not cute anymore when it's a 6-year-old, right? It's harder to excuse. It's harder to be patient. It's harder to be understanding. It's harder to be like, oh, well, he's learning, he's growing. He's 6 years old. You already expect and hope and wish for him to be more regulated. So what can we do? Well, my friends, I want to give you 3 very powerful, very clean steps. They are simple, but I know that they are not easy. And feel free to push back, to ask further questions. I promised you no question goes unanswered. But the first step that I'm going to share with you in order to respond to explosive behavior, violent behavior, is to regulate yourself first. This is an annoying first step because no one wants to, take time off. You see this kid is bursting out of control, going to throw things, going to hit the baby. So of course you have to actually take safety precautions before you can do this step. Like if they're literally going to cause destruction, you're going to stop them first. But stopping them is going to be much easier and much more in control. You're going to hate yourself less. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to have less of a shame hangover if you can do it as calmly as possible. Now, I don't want to be unrealistic or romanticize this. You're ultimately going to feel a bit triggered. It is a heightened situation. It is upsetting, right? But your calm is going to be the biggest tool to help you actually coach them, to help them get to calm. Okay, I want you to remember that we are social creatures. We have mirror neurons. We tend to mirror each other, maybe not immediately, but in the long run, and even in the shorter run, like within a few minutes, your calm could become contagious and your child could calm down from their tantrum and kind of experience your calm. Maybe not minutes, maybe it would take, I don't know, almost an hour. It's okay. But the important thing is to be regulated. Now, I speak from experience. I know what it's like when you're so triggered and your heart rate is up and you're flushed and you're going to be a lot more aggressive to your child. You're likely to grab them harder than you meant to. You're likely to be rougher. Maybe you yourself will even get aggressive and violent. And that would escalate the situation. And it would model for your child that, yeah, this is how we handle things when we're upset. Oh, if you're dysregulated, if you're annoyed, if you don't like what someone's doing, you can and you should grab them, be violent, be aggressive, be scary. And so we do have to learn this first and very difficult step of maturity, which is coaching ourselves first. You take a deep breath, you remind yourself that you can handle this, that you're the parent, that you're the leader. It's not an emergency. It's not a crisis. It's not abnormal. It's not scary. It's not dangerous. It's just a 6-year-old having an explosive tantrum. It's inconvenient. It's a bit annoying. It can be a bit of a handful, but you've got to help yourself to stay centered so that you can be the leader that you need to be. Okay. So do things physically from the outside in to signal to your brain that you are in control. Okay. When we're not in control, our body takes control over us, right? We get big, we get scary, kind of like a cat with all its fur standing on end, right? Exposing our teeth, exposing our eyes, getting bigger. Those are all actually evolutionary, biological responses, right? That make sense because we perceive a threat. And so we want to become threatening in turn, right? But that's not what's going to help in this situation because we actually want our calm to be the contagion, not our stress. Okay, so your child is actually scanning you, right? Their brain is scanning your brain to decide if this is a safe environment or if they're in danger, right? They want to see what's your state. You set the tone. You are the thermostat, right? Not the thermometer. You don't want to respond to the child. You want to set the volume. You want to set the temperature, okay? So how do we do it from the outside in? Well, our physical body is very powerful in this. So you drop your shoulders, you relax your jaw, you talk slower, you talk quieter, you open your palms, right? Kind of fists is aggression, but soft open palms is like, I don't have any weapons. I come in peace, right? Maybe you can soften your eyes, relax your forehead. And one of the key tools I took from Dr. Daniel Siegel work is actually to get low. So low and slow. I remember when I was having a baby and the doula was instructing my husband that one of the ways to calm me down is to use his low voice, right? That masculine voice, that soft pitch. It's kind of calming, it's soothing, it's grounding. And when you talk slowly and in a low voice, it's the opposite of the high-pitched, very anxious voice and angry voice, right? It's that slow, calming voice. And that's what we want for our child to catch from us. Okay. It also, it's communicating to us to stay calm. I'm calm. I can talk slowly. Number 2, contain the behavior. Okay. You don't need to do anything about the emotion. You can just let the emotion be. The kid is angry, it will pass. Emotions pass like waves. You just kind of have to feel them and then they move on, okay? And you learn what you learn from them, okay? But you do need to contain the behavior. And this is where gentle parenting often gets it very wrong, is that people become too permissive and too focused on emotions. Oh, how do you feel? Oh, you're so mad. You're allowed to be mad. You're allowed to be sad. That type of coaching, those types of scripts where you drone on at the kid about their feelings, misses something very, very important, which is you actually need to stop the aggression immediately, firmly, but gently as you can, right? But you need to step in physically. And I know this makes all of us uncomfortable. None of us wants to feel like we're, God forbid, too aggressive, or we might think, oh no, this is abusive, this is controlling, this is oppressive. But the fact is that parenting is a contact sport, okay? You cannot do it from the couch. I have reacted to parents like this on TikTok. You can watch my reaction videos where they're just kind of, yelling from across the room, gentle hands, kind words, no hitting, right? And it's not effective because kids are very physical creatures, right? They're not processing all of this verbiage in the moment that they are completely triggered, right? It's too much words for a 6-year-old. He can't do the emotional processing with you in the moment. You have to learn the difference between a coachable moment and not a coachable moment, which is a moment for you to take action. Now, if you need the words to ground you and to keep you on track, you can say, I won't let you hit. I'm keeping everyone safe, right? We'll talk when your body is calm. But what I find is that parents today, modern parents, myself included, we tend towards too much vocalizing, too many words. Okay, we keep talking and talking and talking, and we keep talking about the feelings. We keep talking about, oh, why did you do that? And why? What are you feeling? And is it because mommy wasn't there? And is it because you're jealous of your brother? And oh, you need to calm down. It's okay that you're mad. Like too much empathy, validation of emotions, too much reflection, too much back and forth in a child who has a fight or flight mode activated. Like literally, if you look at a brain scan of their brain in that moment, if you look at a functional brain scan, you would see that their prefrontal cortex, the area that actually processes words and emotions and planning and executive function and regulation, is not working right now. They are firing in what's known as their primitive brain, right? The amygdala, the emotions, the reptilian brain, the prehistoric brain, whatever, lots of people, different people look at it differently, but the brain that is in charge of reacting to danger. And just think about it, when you react to danger, if there's a tiger in front of you, you don't have time to be like, well, how do I feel about this? Or what does a good decision look like, right? No, you're just like, run, right? It's absolute panic mode. It's absolute survival mode. So please, please, please disregard some of the gentle parenting advice and say very little. Say very little. You don't have to say anything. Your child's being explosive, hold them in place. Contain the aggression, okay? Stay non-reactive. That's that first step I spoke about. Try to be calm yourself. Try to be calm. It's better to be calm. So definitely try. It's hard, okay? But remember, you're not trying to punish them. You're not trying to coach them. You're not giving them therapy. You're containing, okay? I know this is very behavioralist, but sometimes it's helpful to like think about if it was an animal, okay? And we are, we're animals and we have animal instincts. And when we are triggered by something, we're doing something. I don't know about you, but when I walk my dog, if he's suddenly like, rah, a dog there that I want to attack, or a cat that I want to eat, right? If he's suddenly activated, he's triggered. I'm holding the leash and I'm just stopping him from enacting the violence, okay? I'm just holding him back. I'm holding a boundary. You won't do that. You won't chase that cat. You won't attack that dog. You won't, whatever, right? You're not going to run off. I'm holding the leash. I know we hate this because we're all modern parents and we don't want to talk about our kids like animals, but think about how our brains work. If you are like, I'm going to hit someone needs to come and hold you back. That's what friends do for each other, right? Either physically or metaphorically, figuratively, but when your friend says, no, don't text your ex, right? When we hold each other back from making poor choices because we're triggered, we're actually giving each other a service. Now, my friends, children need their bad behaviors stopped, not tolerated, not accepted. And I'll tell you why. When a child bites again, hits again, throws things again, they learn that that's acceptable and it becomes habitual. They normalize it. It becomes their go-to. Like, this is just what I do when I'm angry. Okay. I throw things. I bite. And you actually need to use your body to stop their body from doing those things so that the aggression does not become something that they are, that they kind of habitualize in themselves, in their brains. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me know in the comments if you're following along, if this makes sense to you. Hello, you say BDVS. You say, I needed to hear this today as my 2-year-old scratched a kid at a playground today. Okay, perfect. So 2-year-old, I'm going to talk about toddlers soon. Okay, 2-year-olds, slightly more patient, slightly more understanding, normal behavior for a 2-year-old. But yeah, we're going to get triggered. We're going to get activated and we do need to stop the behavior. We need to stop the scratching. I won't let you scratch. Okay, that's step number 2. Okay. Now, step number 3. Okay, is that you withdraw your attention from the outburst, okay, but you reinforce the repair. So let me break that down. What do I mean? Attention is fuel, okay? We give attention to what we want more of, okay? And you have to use it wisely with children. Yes, children aren't animals that we're training, but we're all animals that we're training on the other hand, right? We all are being trained on what is positively reinforced and what is negatively reinforced. And what we want here is that the negative behavior does not get attention. So you do have to hold them and stop them. You have to restrict them. Like, oh, you're biting? I'm taking you to your room, right? We're going to remove you from the situation. Yes. We do have to take action and that gives it some attention, but we don't want to layer on more attention, okay? You want to be as uninterested as you can muster, okay? As detached as you can muster. Okay, like, oh, it's just a violent tantrum. Guess I need to put you over here. Guess I need to hold your arms back. Guess I need to keep you on my lap. Guess I need to block you from hitting. Guess I need to take away this thing you're throwing. But you're almost nonchalant, right? Unruffled, like Janet Lansbury says, right? Unbothered almost. I know you're going to be bothered. I'm bothered. It's unfun. Eventually we get triggered, but you try to do it with the least amount of attention because you don't want to reinforce this behavior. When do you give the attention? Is during the repair. Okay. You want to layer on the attention for positive behaviors. Okay. So during the tantrum, say less. Don't do emotional coaching. Please don't keep talking. Just say less. In fact, talk to the other kid. Talk to the kid who is behaving nicely. Give the attention to your husband. Give the attention to your cooking. Give the attention to something else that isn't the child. They should not be winning by behaving badly and aggressively and violently. That will make it continue. Okay. So you're holding that child and you're like, oh, darling, why don't you tell me about your school day to your other kid, right? Or, oh, you're so cute, coochie-moochie to the baby. Like, dude, you will not be getting any attention from me for your bad behavior, but those who are behaving well will, okay? But when the child is calm, okay, you're not lecturing them, okay? You're letting the storm pass. You're letting the wave pass, right? You're staying nearby. You're staying calm. But after the calm returns, that's your moment for coaching, for connection, for reconnecting, for repair, okay? You say, oh, you were really angry, huh? I'm really proud that you calmed your body down. When we wait, the anger passes. Next time, you can say this, you can do that. You can ask me for help with the toys instead of hitting. You can tell me that you're frustrated that I don't have your favorite cereal instead of biting, right? We can talk about what you can do differently, right? And you want to catch and praise even small signs of regulation and repair. And this is something you can do all the time, not just after a tantrum. You want to try and encourage regulation, repair, maturity all the time. Like, oh, thank you for saying that with kind words. That was really strong. Well done. I saw you were about to get really upset by that, but you held yourself back. Oh, I saw that was frustrating. She knocked over your tower and you still didn't hit her. That's really good. That's really creating a great atmosphere. Well done, you. Okay. So the bottom line here is that you calm yourself, you contain the storm, you stop the bad behavior, and then you teach the skill, right? Less talk in the moment, more connection afterwards. Okay. Because you're not just managing a behavior, you're actually building their brain, right, for the future. Okay, how does that land with you? Does that make sense? Feel free to push back or ask me any follow-up questions, and we will move on to the next question. Oh, but before we do, I actually have a great resource that I want to share with you. Let me find it here. I'm just going to Google it for you because I want to give you a link. And this is the What to Do When series. Okay. And I'm just going to stick it here in the comments, but there is a really fantastic book series that is all CBT treatment for kids. Let me pull it up for you. And they have what to do when you worry too much, what to do when you're when you grumble too much, when you complain too much, which we're going to talk about soon with a parent whose child is complaining too much. They have a whole list of them. I have all of them at home. What to do when your fear interferes, what to do when you are scared of your bed, when you are worried about mistakes, those types of things. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that it's something that parents and children can do together. You don't need a therapist for that, okay? And so what you do is it's kind of like a workbook where you help your child. Okay, when you're worrying too much, here are things you can think about. Here's things you could do. Here's things you can say to me. When you're angry too much, right? When your temper flares, that's that book. I put the worry book here, but you'll see the whole series. And the idea is that you can sit and do it like a workbook, because I want you to take away from this is that regulation, okay, good behaviors, good choices, maturity, all of those are skills. And they're skills that your child may not develop naturally. They may not. They may just maintain cognitive fallacies, a very explosive temper, impulsivity, negative thinking and pessimism. If you don't intervene, if you don't learn to be a leader in your home, if you don't establish great family culture, if you don't coach your kids with mindset, they may or may not just, spontaneously recover from those kind of cognitive fallacies. And I can tell you for sure that in 99% of the cases, they will not get it anywhere else. They won't get it from school. They may not even get it from, if you take them for therapy. Many therapists even don't know how to do this or aren't trained in it. And so it's something that I want you to do. You've got to take that on. You've got to give your kids those skills, and you can. And I can give you those skills, and I teach them inside the studio regularly. So if you want to know, how do I coach my kids with better mindsets, with better behaviors, with better regulation, with better decision making, right? How do I get them to overcome entitlement or laziness or rudeness or selfishness or all of those things that aren't going to serve them in their life, right? They need to overcome them. They need to build a great character. Character building is something that's fallen out of fashion. You don't find it in parenting books. You don't find it in schools. You don't find it in homes anymore. And that's why many people are growing up without a strong character, without a strong backbone, without broad shoulders, without critical thinking skills, without integrity in their values. And that's exactly what I teach inside the studio. Okay. Okay, so the Anitsir Karim, hello, says, please provide more alternatives to help dysregulated kids or adults. Absolutely. That is what we're here for. I have many alternatives to that, and I'm going to keep going with all of my questions. What I would recommend is that you put your question in a format of a question. In other words, give me a situation that's troubling you where you don't know what to do, and I can help you actually break it down with steps. Okay. Now, I did also include in that last question the 7-year-old whose violence hits when his anxiety hits, right? Again, you need to anchor yourself first, right? Their storm needs your stillness. Okay. The more chaotic they are, the more ordered you need to be. Okay, because anxiety is contagious. Dr. Lawrence Cohen, in his book, The Opposite of Worry, talks about this contagious aspect of anxiety and honestly of all emotions. So if you're calm and you ground yourself with that slow breath, with that soft face, with that steady voice, you're going to co-regulate them rather than being their adversary. Okay. And then you're going to contain their behavior. Even if it's anxiety induced, that doesn't excuse bad behavior. Again, a problem that we have in modern parenting is that we keep excusing bad behavior because of unmet needs, right? Oh, my child is anxious. My child has a root cause childhood trauma. My child has some kind of unmet need. They're hungry, they're tired, they have a new sibling, they have a new school, the parents are going through a divorce. And we excuse bad behavior, which sounds compassionate, it sounds gentle, it sounds kind, but really it does the child no favors because they have to learn self-regulation. That is something that they need, right? So you use physical containment if your child's being violent, because a child who gets used to violence can't make friends, can't get on well in school, doesn't get invited to birthday parties, becomes a violent person. It's not good for them. That's not good for them. And it's obviously horrible for you and for their siblings, okay? And then you want to decode that pattern, coach, right? And teach replacement, right? That's where you do the book that I just shared with you. That's when you talk about how we handle our anxieties, how we talk back to our fears, how we face our fears, how we overcome our fears, right? If you don't know me yet, then I'll just share that I had clinical PTSD for many years. I don't take it lightly. I understand that mental health it can be really crippling, mental illness, not health, but that's something we can overcome. I overcame it. People overcome it every single day. It can become your greatest strength. There's really no reason to just stay in that crippled state. So don't excuse your child's bad behaviors. If you only take away one thing from the session, let it be that. Okay, let's move on to the next question, which is, okay, my 10-year-old and I are yelling at each other all the time. Okay, Priya, I am so sorry that you are experiencing that. When we get into yelling cycles, what I think is actually happening is that each one of us feels desperate to be heard. When you feel that the other person just hasn't heard you, just won't really understand you, right? Won't really listen to what you're saying, that's when you start yelling louder. That's when you start becoming more frustrated and then assertive and then even aggressive and accusatory. And we start yelling louder and louder because the other person isn't hearing us. So if you feel that you're in a yelling match with your child, unfortunately, as the adult, you're going to have to be the one to break that cycle. They're going to need to follow you. You're going to need to lead, right? And if you need help feeling that confidence to become a leader, join the studio. It's open now. I will train you on leadership. I will train you on how to be the adult in the room so that you don't get dysregulated. You're not having tantrums. You're not getting triggered. No, you're the solid rock that your child looks to for role modeling, for inspiration, for calm. Now, I don't do that 100% of the time, but I strive to, and having the tools to makes us be able to do it more often than not. Okay. So, how do you stop that cycle? Well, the first thing I would recommend that you do is that you model active listening. Okay. When your child is worked up, it's not the time to yell back at them. Okay. They can't listen to you. They're not listening, right? They're just yelling at you back. It's a match. So, I would love for you to set the scene. Okay. Maybe you make hot chocolate, or you get down by the Lego or something that they like, or you go on a walk somewhere that they love. Something about the physical environment has to indicate safety, calm, connection. It's relaxed. This isn't a yelling match. I want to listen, right? And I would love for you to open the channels of communication with your 10-year-old so that they actually feel that they can talk to you and that they don't need to yell. What do you need to share with me? What's going on? Oh, you're upset that you don't get enough screen time? That's interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. You're having difficult time with your friends at school? Okay. You feel too much pressure with homework? I would like to listen. You're not agreeing with their points. You don't need to change things about their life. They could still have, I don't know, pressure at school or limited screen time or whatever, but you become a listening partner for them to share with, so that they can trust you, so that they can lean on you, so that they feel a bond and a connection with you, so that you become their influence. And now 10 is tween. Okay. They are on the verge of becoming a teenager, and you absolutely need to establish that you are a good source of comfort, that you are a safe person to talk to, that you are their support system, that you're in their corner, that you're their biggest fan, that you're a friend. You're a parent first, but you're also a friend, and that they can trust you to listen. And if you're just yelling back at them, they can't. Okay. Why is that so important? Well, just a few short years from now, the stakes become even higher. Okay. This is like a video game where the levels just keep getting harder. And when you have a teenager, it's about, risky behaviors, drugs, alcohol, pregnancy, all sorts of things that you need your child to know they can come to you if they get in trouble, if they're having difficulty, if they're in some social media, mishap. They need to know that you are someone who can listen. And so that's really the first and maybe the whole step, is to become a good listener to your child. Okay. The second thing is not to yell at your child. I know you know that, and that's why you're writing this question, but to develop the skills to communicate what you want to say without raising your voice, without repeating yourself. And I'm actually going to combine this with another question that came in, who said, excuse me. So many questions here. No. Okay. She said, my 7-year-old and my 4-year-old, how many times do I have to say one thing? It ruins the environment of my home. So she too is struggling with this idea of, I need to repeat myself. I need to yell, right? I'm always raising my voice. No one's listening to me. And she's tearing her hair out, feeling like, I don't have influence in my home. Listen, inside the studio, we have an entire month dedicated in our leadership training to becoming an influence in your child's life, to maintaining influence, to controlling outside influences, not controlling, but monitoring, being aware of, shaping, guiding, right? Because look, if you create a vacuum of leadership in your home, if your child tunes you out, doesn't listen to you, isn't interested, then that vacuum won't just be nothing. It won't just be, oh, my child is just a unique, powerful individual. They're a strong, independent kid. They're going to lead themselves. No, because all children need leadership. So if you aren't being a respected leader, your child will seek that leadership. It just won't be from you. It will be from Kim Kardashian. It will be from TikTok. It will be from Dua Lipa. It will be from whoever is popular at that time. And you will lose your influence over your child. They'll learn to dismiss you. So if you're yelling all the time, your child will learn to dismiss you. If you are repeating yourself all the time, your child learns to tune you out. There's no real reason for them to listen carefully, because you are going to repeat yourself again and again and again. And so we have to learn how to communicate in a way that makes our child hear us, listen to us, want to follow our advice, because we're inspiring leaders, right? Because we have wisdom, because we're a trusted source, because we're calm. And that is something, it does take longer than just this session for me to teach you those steps, but I can tell you in broad strokes, right? For example, learning how to project your voice and talk in a tone that isn't yelling, right? Learning how to voice directions rather than requests, suggestions, vague ideas, right? Many parents are like, it's bath time. Or, I don't think we should have shoes on the couch. Or kindness matters, right? Just kind of stating these platitudes and thinking that we are giving our child direction. Okay, if you want your child to hear you without yelling and without repeating yourself, here are the steps. Listen up. First, you need to get their attention. Children have different type of attention than parents. Okay, why? Because their attention is very dispersed. It's very horizontal. Us parents, we're reading something, we're cooking something, we're on the phone. We know how to create hierarchy in our attention. Children, when they enter into a room, everything is interesting to them. They're taking everything in. So there's really no reason for them to listen to what you're saying in a higher volume, in a stronger way than the birds chirping outside the window and the trucks that they're driving through their toys and the baby siblings sucking on their pacifier. They don't differentiate hierarchies of attention. And so if you want your 10-year-old's attention, your 7-year-old's attention, your 4-year-old's attention, you need to come up to them close. You need to get in their face. You need to hold their face, make physical touch their thigh, touch their shoulder, hold them, hold their hands, hold their cheeks. Be like, sweetie, baby, my darling, I'm talking to you, right? And you need to get the eye contact. You need to make sure that they are with you. Otherwise, you're just going to keep yelling. You're just going to keep yelling it across the room. You're just going to keep repeating yourself. They're never going to hear you. Of course they're not, because we misunderstand children, right? Okay, the second thing you need to do is you need to give them a direction. Not would you like, not do you think, not a vague statement, okay? It's time for, no. You got to give them a direction. Get in the bath. Clean up your toys. Put your hands on your lap away from your sibling. Take your medicine, whatever, right? You have to actually tell them what to do in the simplest, most direct way. Now, in modern parenting, we don't like doing this because we don't want to sound like a drill sergeant. We don't want to be oppressors. We don't want to sound controlling. We don't want to sound top heavy. We're very uncomfortable in being a hierarchy and a leader. But that's why we end up screaming at the end, because we've said it so many different times. Oh, it's bath time. Oh, are you finished with your toys now? Would you like to get in the bath now? What do you think about bath time now? Do you want bubble bath or do you want a regular bath, right? Offering choices, making suggestions, repeating ourselves endlessly, asking their opinions. All of these things we do because we're trying to mask our authority. We're uncomfortable directly saying what we want. So we squirm around it, right? We're squeamish, we're uncomfortable. We just kind of don't step into that leadership role. But the truth is that leadership is generosity. Leadership is benevolent. It can be a good, wonderful thing. Authority can be benevolent and good. Not every authority is an oppressor, and parents are not oppressive. You're loving, okay? You're generous, you're giving, you're selfless, you're self-sacrificial. Your authority and your leadership is a favor to your child. You're not taking away from them. You're not inflicting upon them. You're, God forbid, not abusing them. You're actually serving them. Okay, it's leadership in service. And so you need to get comfortable with that leadership role and practice actually being an inspiring leader, so that when you say these things to them, you're not second guessing yourself and doubting yourself and feeling uncomfortable and afraid of your own shadow, but you're saying it with clarity. Okay. And then the next step, my dear, amazing 401 cakes who wrote about the kids not listening, is that you need to follow through immediately. You've got to train yourself that you're not saying the same thing again. If you said, get in the bath now, and the child's like, I don't want to, I'm doing this. Oh, I'll go over there. I'm running away. I'm giggling. Then you're going to pick them up and take them to the bath. You're holding their hand. You're following through. They need to get used to the link between your word and action. Okay, you said something, now it's time to follow through. And if you just kind of let it all hang in the air, adrift, hoping that someone picks it up, first of all, you'll get so frustrated, like you said. Okay, it's ruining the atmosphere of my home. That's what you said. Yeah, it will ruin the atmosphere because you'll be so frustrated and triggered and resentful, and you'll hate parenting. And that's why so many parents hate parenting, because they're not, quote unquote, doing it right. And they're just endlessly resentful and frustrated that no one respects them, that no one's listening to them, that there's no follow through on things. And that's not a good way to live. And that's a terrible way for your kids to live. They learn to tune out authority. They learn to be disrespectful. They don't learn focus. They don't learn discipline. They don't learn that things don't have to take a million years and be so frustrating. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've had maybe, let's say, play dates with friends who've come over, people who I love, people who are great parents. And I'm not judging them. I know how easy this is. I've been in this situation. I'll just speak about myself. How many times have I taken my kids to a play date? And when it's time to go, I'm like, okay, shoes on. Okay, we're leaving now. Guys, we should get home for dinner. Guys, it's a long drive. If we go now, we'll miss traffic. Guys, let's go. No, guys, no more time for another game. Okay, just one more game. 5 minutes and then no more minutes. Okay, 5 minutes is up. It's actually been 15 minutes. We have to go now. We have to go now. In the end, you just lose it. You get triggered. You get angry and you end up coming home being like, why did I even put myself in that situation? I'm not doing that again. It's too much of a nightmare. It's humiliating that I have no authority over my kids and no one cares what I think. And you just end up feeling miserable, right? Where if I'd have said to my kids, we're leaving now. It's time to get shoes on. And they're like, no, we don't want to go. And I go, yeah, I know. I know you want to stay. We'll come back for another play date another time. Shoes on now. And I take their hands and get them in the car. They would trust my authority. They would feel that I have integrity. They would feel safer and more boundaried with a real adult who can actually be competent and effective in their leadership. And they would trust me more. And they would actually be happier because when we got home, I'd be in a better mood. I'd be less likely to yell. I'd be more generous of spirit, right? Because I wouldn't feel so used by that situation. Okay, got it? Get their attention, state a direction, follow through immediately. Okay. Join the studio. That should be the fourth step because that's where you'll really get the coaching that you need for this and all of the PDFs and the community and all the great stuff. Okay, let's talk about the next question coming along. And this is about someone who said that her partner, Melanie, you wrote, I get triggered by my partner dismissing our son's needs and it impacts our relationship. I bet. I completely understand. And I want to combine this one with another question that came in who said, my husband and I disagree on our parenting approach. Okay, so this is a cause of tension, friction, difficulty, frustration, depression for a lot of women in my community. A lot of my students come to me where actually in their parenting, sure, they have questions, they're unsure, they want to build a strong family culture, they want to become great leaders. But when we really kind of dig a little deeper and understand what's going on, often it's actually a root cause of a friction between the partners, right? Between husband and wife, say, or the parents, about how to run the home, about how to raise the children, about how to answer needs, okay? And I want to just share with you that I have a very countercultural, maybe unpopular opinion on this. And I have a lot of personal experience with this, but I've also been coaching on this thousands of people for years. Okay. I've been teaching inside of my Married University course and inside of my Desire Lab membership, how to create the marriage of your dreams with the partner that you've got. This is a secret or not so secret passion project of mine. It's what I most love talking about because I feel that your marriage, if you are married, is foundational to your parenting. And just a quick side story, just a quick backstory is back in the day, I was obsessed with learning about parenting, about being a gentle parent, being an empathic parent, holding limits with respect and being a conscious parent. And I was so careful about how I phrased things to my kids and how I thought about my kids and being so generous and so loving and the bond and the attachment and really, really focused on wonderful parenting. And at the end of the day, my husband would get home from a long day's work and I, was after a long day of work and parenting and housework and all of that. And he would come in and I would be irritable and cold and triggered and frustrated with him. And all the things I was not doing with my kids, I was then doing to my husband. Okay. This is over a decade ago. That this is how it was that I was focusing all of my attention on being the best parent I could be and none of my attention on being the best partner I can be. Okay. And I think it's such a mistake that so many of us modern women make is that we focus on the child's needs, the type of parenting we want to do, what type of reactions. Oh, we want to be a gentle parent. I want to homeschool. I want to breastfeed, whatever it is that you want to do. It doesn't matter. at the expense or to the detriment of our relationship. In other words, we ignore our partner, we belittle them, we dismiss them. Oh, you haven't read the books. You didn't carry him in your belly for 9 months. You don't understand. You're not up with him at night. We create competition. We create tit for tat, and resentment builds. We so often put all of our focus attaching and bonding with this baby, and we let our marriage wilt and decay and sometimes even die. Now, why is this all wrong? Okay, why is this all wrong? My friend, Ofra and Melanie, okay, Ofra and Melanie, who wrote to me about this. I know you want to be an amazing mom. I know you have a very clear vision of how you want to treat your child, how you want to meet your child's needs, what kind of parenting you want, okay? But I want to tell you something really, like, I'm going to say it really loud and clear, really tough love, really bold, and I hope that it lands for you and you take it, okay? Your marriage is more important than your parenting for your child. Okay, again, the health of your marriage, the quality of your marriage has more of an impact on your child's well-being than any parenting style you choose. So we have our priorities twisted. I include myself in this. I had my priorities twisted. I was putting gentle parenting above healthy quality marriage. I was willing to be confrontational and escalatory and critical and accusatory, right? Pointing fingers and stressful in my marriage so that I could be a gentle parent. Like, I was fighting for gentle parenting. I was fighting for whatever, cloth diapering, homeschooling, whatever you want to choose. And I was willing to kind of sacrifice my marriage at the altar of these parenting styles. And when you do that, you probably won't get the parenting style you want, because only one parent will be really doing it. But you will definitely be causing harm and damage to your child long term, much more than any parenting style could. Why? Because children thrive from a stable family life. That is the biggest privilege a child can have. A stable, loving parent household is, it's gold. It's what every child dreams of if they could articulate their dreams. It's what every child needs. It's the most effective precursor and and prophesizer of their future, right? It has the most effect on a positive future for them than anything else. More than if you punish or not, more than if they go to a mainstream school or not, more than if you co-sleep or not, more than if you breastfeed or not, more than any of your parenting decisions is if you and your partner can create a stable, loving home for your child together, okay? Some people don't have that privilege. Shout out to the single moms. Shout out to the parents who had to get divorced. Shout out to whatever it might be that leads, the widows, anyone who ends up not having a stable two-parent household. There's so much you can do to make up for it. There's so much you can do to still give your child a wonderful childhood, and they can be healthy and happy individuals. However, those of us who can't, those of us who have the privilege of having another parent in the home who is a stable, good, decent person, must prioritize our relationship with them over our parenting styles. Okay? So why am I drilling that home? Because of what I've said, because it's such a toxic idea and it's harming children. Okay. It's really, really harming children. Children learn by osmosis, by observing your relationship. How do you treat each other? How do you talk to each other? How do you partner with each other? How do you love each other? Right? How do you do those things are going to be the curriculum of their childhood, so much more than whether or not you say, good job. Okay. Who freaking cares? That's just not a big deal. It pales in comparison to what kind of relationship you have. It's like 80% of what you're going to offer your child is who you are as a person and what your relationship is like between the parents. That's going to be 80%. 20% is what activities do they do? What school do they go to? What language you use with them? Do you punish or not? Those types of things. Okay. So that's the first thing is to really be aware of that. Now, Having said that, we still have to have tough conversations with our partner about our parenting styles and make decisions together. But I first want you to get on board as co-founders of this new unit. You both have the same incentives, okay? And this is the first thing I want to tell you is that many times you see your partner as an adversary. Like he's pulling in that direction and you're pulling in this direction and you have to fight for yourself. We do that in, oh, I'm doing more chores than you. I'm holding more mental load than you. I'm working harder than you. I give more to the children than you. I'm sacrificing more than you, right? We create this competition. We create this tit for tat. We see our partners as adversaries. What a terrible way to go through life and to build a relationship. No relationship ever benefited from that competitive vibe or from that accusatory tone. So the first thing is to remember that your incentives are aligned. Both you and your partner, I'm going to believe, right? Unless they are, mentally ill or addicted or abusive, there's every reason to believe that if your partner is a decent human being, that your incentives are completely aligned. Okay. And what does that mean? That you both want the best for your child. You both love your child and you both want good things for them. You have different ways of going about it. But now the argument becomes more about the how than about, oh, you love them less, you understand them less, you're investing less, right? It becomes less emotional. It's just like, oh, you think mainstream school is better for them and I think homeschool is better for them. Fine, we can discuss this, right? It becomes a lot less heightened and triggering. Okay. So your incentives are aligned. You stop seeing your partner as an adversary. You start seeing them as a co-founder. The next step I would suggest is that you need to start seeing your partner's perspective as useful to your own. Okay. It would be nice if we could marry a clone. It would be nice if we could just marry someone who is a yes man who agrees with us 100% of the time and just whatever you want, ma'am. And the truth is, some people do have relationships like that. But I'm being sarcastic because it wouldn't really be nice because there's no growth and there's no strength in that, right? When you think about, say, how genes become stronger, it's when we actually intertwine different genes, right? We actually get a lot of problems when people have the same genes reproducing. Okay, it's a weakening effect. We want a strengthening effect. So, for example, let me give you an example, say, from the world of money. Okay, say my partner is very conservative and a saver, right? And say I am, splashing out. I want to live in the moment. I'm a spender. Okay, you could say, oh no, we're not in the same mindset. We're incompatible. I get triggered because he wants to save and I want to spend. Or you could say, 1 minute, the two of us together could find really good balance. If I open my mind to his perspective and he opens his mind to my perspective, we could, somehow negotiate a healthy path forward. In fact, maybe I need his perspective to ground me, to balance me out, to teach me a thing or two. So often I have found myself in a very arrogant place of thinking I know better just because I'm a parenting coach and I've read the books and I take the courses and I've been with the kids a lot more and I'm a mother. So I have intuition, right? And I carried them and fed them. So it's like, it's my body. It's like my bond with it, and you know what? The hubris of that, right? I was so arrogant and so dismissive and so holier than thou that I didn't realize the incredible gift of respecting my partner's perspective as a man, as someone who didn't carry the babies, as someone who has a completely different emotional build than me, as someone who sees things very differently, who comes from a different background, and who can balance out my opinions, which sometimes get too maybe emotional or empathic or enmeshed or clouded. So that's the second step, is to start respecting your partner's perspective as actually being of value to you, rather than constantly dismissing them as, oh, he's just a man. What does he understand? I need to teach him. Okay. Maybe just like a little bit of humble pie. Maybe he needs to teach me, maybe I don't know. Maybe I could tell you the harsh and painful truth of my own experience, even as a parenting coach, even since I became a parenting coach, is that I've realized that a lot of the things that I held true, right? A lot of my pet ideas have been debunked for me, right? As my children grow, as the world changes, as I change, I'm suddenly like, you know what? I don't believe that anymore. Like I used to think, oh, sticker charts are so terrible. And now I'm like, you know what? Sometimes sticker charts are useful. So why would I die on the hill of sticker charts in front of my husband if maybe I'm going to end up being flexible and changing my opinion in the future? Now, I'm not saying you should just be wishy-washy and not know what you think and not know what you believe, but you've got to have that little bit of deference, of respect, of being humble, of being, cautious about the things that you kind of put a stake in the ground about, right? Like, listen to him. Maybe the man has something to share. Maybe he has a point. I have to admit that there have been times that my husband has told me something and I've dismissed it. And that's, that's ugly. That's disrespectful. That's not a good way of building a relationship. It never did us any favors. But also, it was hypocritical because suddenly when a friend would say it to me or when I'd read it in a book, I'd be like, oh, that is a good idea. Right. And that just points to my own arrogance. And so that's something that I think we've got to work on. I think it's a little bit encouraged by maybe modern day feminism or all sorts of ideas in the atmosphere about how women have so much more, people say like, oh, if women ran the world, there'll be no wars, or women have so much more intuition, or women are so wise. I just think take that with a grain of salt. I'm not sure about that. I know that I have often not necessarily been more wise. And even though I had, even though I positioned myself as such. So that's just something that I would be careful about. Okay. And then the third thing that I would do is that I would actually build a relationship of co-parenting by having meaningful conversations about this. Okay. And not fights. Okay. So that's the big key here is that you've got to become friends who are curious about each other's perspective, who can forge the way forward together, right? Like, what do you think about that? How would you handle that? Interesting. Here's something I was thinking about. What do you think about that? Would you be okay with that? And you start to kind of build a fun relationship. Right now, it's a strained relationship. It's like fight after fight. It's always about accusations and criticisms and finger pointing and blaming. No one wants to get in a conversation like that. They'd rather just ignore you. They'd rather just block you out. I've had clients come to me and say, my husband refuses to talk about parenting anymore. He says, we're not discussing this anymore. And I'm like, that sucks. But also, I mean, fair play. I get it. If he's being, nagged and berated and humiliated and undermined in front of the kids time and time again, eventually he's just like, I'm sorry, I can't. My voice doesn't matter. These conversations are always escalatory. I don't want to be part of this. And so you must, as a matter of urgency, create a collaborative environment. Brainstorm, go out on a date, be flirty, be fun, be sexy, be connected, enjoy each other's company, and talk about your parenting. It's this beautiful, incredible project you're creating together. You've created life together out of a place of love for each other. Okay. Reconnect to that. You're creating something beautiful. You're shaping the future together. Do not allow it to be something where you're, not actually holding each other in a beautiful regard because you have somehow entered into this power struggle, right? That would not be conducive to a healthy relationship, right? So you're allowed to feel activated, but don't get stuck in that activation, right? Make sure that you are building something different with your partner. Okay, let's keep going, but I just want to respond to some of the people here. Jay Davis, who says, how do you deal with a husband that rarely spends time with his family? We have an only child that constantly wants to be around me because I pay him attention. I feel like I end up spoiling him. Okay, so that is a fantastic question, but it's also two different questions, right? One is, what do I do with the fact that my child doesn't spend much time with his dad? And the second is that I end up spoiling him. Okay, so I don't know why he's not spending time with his dad. Maybe you could let me know in the comments now what's going on. Is this temporary? Is dad working a lot? Is dad, living out of town for a job? Or is he deployed because he's in the military? Or, how long-term is this? Because if it's a short-term thing, it's a short-term thing. But if it's a long-term thing, we have to build some kind of compensation system in, okay? Like, for example, I have a friend whose husband travels for work all the time, and they have a fixed very early morning, very inconvenient Zoom call where he learns something with the kids, right? They read a chapter, they talk about an issue, they do some debate, and that's how he is part of their life. You'll also, especially if your son, and you have a son, if your son is not necessarily surrounded by other family members who are men, like grandpas, uncles, cousins, then you'll need to find great male role models to be part of his life. Okay. It is not good for either boys or girls to grow up with an overwhelming majority of just women raising them. Okay. They need both. And so that's another thing that I would look for, right? Is it martial arts classes? Is it more involvement with family members? That type of thing. Jay Davis says, when he has free time, he zones out and is on his phone. Okay. So there I would do something else. And what I would do is I would actually, from a loving place, from a connected place, from a transparent place, I would encourage your husband to take on a lot more of the parenting time. Maybe not a lot more, but some more. So, for example, um, you would almost need to leave him to his own devices in order for him to step into that role. Because very, very often women overcompensate for men's tuning out. Now, I don't love a parent scrolling on their phone on the couch or whatever when kids are there. I don't love that. But it happens. It happens to me. It happens to you. It happens to your husband. But what often happens is, say, a husband is scrolling on his phone and he's checked out and he's not really responsive. So the wife rushes in to fill all the needs, right? To compensate for that. And I'll speak for myself. Often I have standards for how I want things to be done, how I want him to be talked to, how I want him to be treated, how I want the house to be run. And so I often am going to be saving my partner from managing to do it themselves, say, because of my, let's call it what it is, kind of my control freak aspect, right? Like, oh, I need it to be done my way. And if you combine those two things, then often men just don't get much chance to try their hand at parenting. Their wife is always rushing in to save them. Their wife is always doing it for them. Their wife is always berating them for doing it wrong. And that makes it impossible for them to get their sea legs, right? To really learn how to do it. And you know this from becoming a mother. You only know how to be a mother by being a mother. Right? It doesn't matter how much babysitting you did. It doesn't matter how many babies you've seen in your life. Until you have that baby and you're responsible for their life, you don't really step in and learn those skills. He needs to step in and learn those skills so that he's not zoned out. And the only way he's going to do that is if you step away a little bit. Like, oh, don't you have an appointment this afternoon? Don't you need to be somewhere? Aren't you going to visit a friend? Leave him to his own devices once in a while so that he can actually step in and take on that role and build his muscles, build his ability. None of us enjoy doing something that we're not good at. None of us likes being a beginner. And when there's someone there who's so much more skilled and so much more patient and has so much more ability to parent, then why don't I just lay back? Like, I would do the same. You know, it makes perfect sense. So you have to give him opportunities to grow into himself as a father, right? And I think typically for men, that takes a little bit longer. That's more in the toddler years and the early childhood years when the kids are more responsive, when they're less vulnerable, when they can rough and tumble, when he can take them places without worrying about, oh, mommy needs to breastfeed, that kind of thing. He starts to find his sea legs, his strengths as a father. Does that land for you? Does that make sense? Is that a plan that you feel that you could put into action? Let me know. Okay. The next question is excessive complaining in a 5-year-old. Okay, excessive complaining in a 5-year-old. And tantrums in a 16-month-old. We'll talk about toddler tantrums soon. So excessive complaining. There is a kind of myth in the modern parenting world, right? That we should hold space and empathize with all emotions. That whatever you're feeling, it's always right. There's never a wrong feeling, right? Oh, you feel sad? You should feel sad. It's okay to feel sad. I hear you that you feel sad. Oh, you're mad? Oh, you're disappointed? Oh, you're frustrated? That negative emotions is just something that you should always hold space for. But here's what I want to say. Is that negative emotions are born often of negative thinking patterns. Okay. If you know someone in your life who's really pessimistic, an adult who's really pessimistic, who always complains, who's always looking at the cup half empty, right? Then you know that that's how they view the world. They are always looking for the things that are going wrong. They're always catastrophizing. They have all or nothing thinking. Maybe they take things very personally and they're always personalizing things and getting offended. And what I think modern day parenting misses often is that it is actually our children's faulty thought patterns, cognitive biases, skewed lenses that they've got on their eyes that are causing them to look at the world in a negative way and become pessimistic or complain a lot. Okay. Now, if you complain a lot, that's not good for you. If you complain a lot, that's not good for children. Just like giving them excess sugar is not good for them. Why? First of all, people don't like to be around complainers. We want children who have friends, who are accepted into social settings, who other adults like and are fond of and want to mentor and take under their wing. We want children who garner favor by their surroundings. That's what we want for them because that's what's best for them. Okay. But if you're always complaining, then people get tired of you. People get annoyed with you. People don't want to be with you. Okay. It's an annoying quality. You also trigger your parents. They're going to get irritated with you and they're going to be more reactive to you and more frustrated with you. Also not good for you, right? So complaining is not a great thing for the kid. And we do actually want to shape it and help them move on from it and overcome it and not become addicted to that habit. And why do I say that? Because the way that we think about things and the way that we feel about things often gets reinforced by our surroundings, encouraged by our parents, and it becomes our character. You know, it starts off as just a feeling, and you're like, oh, it's just a feeling. I need to hold space for feelings. It's okay to be sad and frustrated, right? And then it turns into maybe a quirk or a tendency, right? And eventually, if you do it enough, it's indistinguishable from your personality. That's just who you are. It becomes your character. Now, your child's still very young. A 5-year-old is still very young. And that's great because we're going to help them shape their character into something that is going to serve them in their life. The truth is that if you're a complainer and you're pessimistic and you're seeing the downside, things don't go very well for you because things start to become self-fulfilling prophecies, right? People who are pessimistic have lower levels of health. Okay. They make less money. They have less satisfying relationships. They even live less. They die younger. Okay. This is all really interesting research that optimists have better lives. Maybe because they perceive it as better because they're optimists, but also their objective realities like living longer are better. Okay. Because it helps us to be hopeful, to be positive, etc. Okay. So modern parenting, gentle parenting is going to tell you, oh, you mustn't shape it. This is who he is. This is his truth. This is his inner world. Let him express himself. Hold space for the emotion. Validate it. Right. And I'm going to say something different. Okay. Sure. A tiny little bit of empathy. Yeah. But then a lot of mindset coaching. Okay. Empathy is just the first step. It's just a little step. Everybody's allowed a pity party once in a while. Everybody's allowed to feel upset or sad or frustrated. Feelings are just feelings. They come, they go. You feel them. You don't need to suppress them. You don't need to hide them. You don't need to lie to yourself about them. You don't need to override them. You just feel it. Like, ugh, I hate this dinner. Ugh, I can't believe the play day didn't work out. Ugh, this weather is so bad, right? He has all these complaints. He's allowed to feel those feelings. You don't need to shut him up. You don't need to stop it. But the point is that you don't want to double down on it. You don't want to reinforce it. And you do have to train him, help him train his brain to take on a better perspective, to take on a more helpful perspective. Okay, to look at the glass half full, to find what to be grateful for. We know that people who are grateful and optimistic have, a lot of benefits. It's protective for their mental health. It's protective for their social circles and relationships. It makes them feel better. It solves the problem in many cases. Okay, and so you do start with hearing him and with being empathic, right? So you can say, oh, it sounds like you feel frustrated, or it sounds like you're sad, or it sounds like you feel left out, right? So you show empathy, but you don't want to feed the spiral, okay? You validate the emotion without reinforcing unhelpful behavior so that you can interrupt the spiral, okay? And that's the second thing where you set a gentle limit on this pattern, okay? You stay warm, you stay connected, you stay loving, but you also want to stop the loop. Okay, so you're going to use calm, consistent language like, I hear you. Let's find a solution. We're going to take a break from complaining now and think about what we can do about it. Okay, you can tell me once and then we're going to move on, right? You want to redirect them. Say, let's use your brave voice. Let's use your clever brain. Let's think about problem solving instead of a complainy voice. Okay. You can say, whining really hurts my ears. If you could say that, if you could voice that in a respectful request, I'd love to be able to help you. Okay. You could say, yeah, that is really frustrating. There's not much we can do about it. So we should move on now to something else. Like, oh, it's raining. Yep. The weather isn't what you most wanted. I know it could be a bit annoying. So what are we going to do today? Right. We want to move them on from lingering in the complaint. Okay. That wouldn't be good for them. Okay. And then the third step that you want to take is that you want to reinforce positive expression. Okay. Remember that idea that whatever you water grows. Okay, if you water the complaining plant grows. If you water the positive plant, the grateful plant, right? That's what grows. Okay, so when they express their feelings or their needs without whining, without complaining, you say, "I love that you told me that calmly. Thank you for asking for help like such a big kid," right? Or you can actually tell them, "Hey, can you ask for what you want without whining? That complaint feels a bit unnecessary right now. Do you want to talk about the solution that you're offering?" Right? So it's replacement of the skewed mindset and reinforcement to rewire the habits faster than just correcting, right? We don't want to just say, "You're complaining too much." We want to say, "I can see that you're thinking about this through, through that lens. You're looking at what's not working. Can we talk about also what is working?" Right? Or, "I know it's really disappointing that the sleepover isn't happening. Can you think of anything positive about the fact that it was canceled?" Right? We try to help them to train their brain to also pick up on good things. Okay. So lead with empathy, yes, but then hold the limit and teach the skill that you do want to see. Remember that kids are rife with cognitive biases and fallacies that we all are, like taking things personally or thinking things need to be fair when they're never fair, or black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, right? Generalizations, minimizing the good, maximizing the bad. These are all cognitive fallacies, and just being empathic won't fix the thinking pattern underneath it. And the thinking pattern does need to be coached and fixed by you. And if you're not sure how to do that, join the studio, because that's exactly where I will teach you how to do it. All right. Did we get through all of our no, we did not. There are more questions. Okay. There are probably too many questions to answer today, but we'll keep going in the next session. Let me just answer this one. My 7-year-old never wants to go anywhere or do anything. He gets an hour of screen time a day, but all he ever wants to do is screen time. Okay. Miss P is a unicorn. Miss P is a unicorn whose 7-year-old doesn't want to do anything. Let me tell you the good news. The good news is your 7-year-old doesn't get to decide. Okay. The bad news is he doesn't want to do anything, but the good news is you're the leader. You're the one who decides what we do in this family, what we're doing with our time, what our schedule looks like. So if you decide we're going on a hike, we're hosting friends, we're going to a class, we're trying this new skill, we're doing origami, we're baking a pizza, it doesn't matter. You are the one setting the tone. I know that there's this very popular idea of just follow the child's interests. And for a child who's eager and enthusiastic and driven, that works great. But for a child who is not, because of the screens or because of any other reason, their temperament is just more low key, you are still the leader. You're still going to need to make those decisions. It's just a little bit harder because you didn't have their buy-in. They didn't want to do it, right? But it is still our responsibility. Now, let me give you an example. If I know that reading is a really good life skill, in fact, a critical life skill, and my kid doesn't want to learn to read, I'm not leaving it up to them. Okay, I'm not leaving it up to them. Like, some kids just want to learn to read. I have 5 kids of my own. So some of them at the age of 4 were like, "Teach me to read. I want to learn to read," or picking it up for themselves. And some kids at the age of 9, I'm still struggling. "Hey, come, we need to practice. We need to practice." Okay. The truth is, though, it doesn't matter. Their motivation does not matter. Okay. Because this is not about motivation. This is about discipline. And discipline is about doing something whether you feel like it or not. Do you see? You don't have to be driven to learn to read. I'm going to make sure you learn to read, whether you feel like it or not, whether you want to or not. Your motivation is a bonus. It's easier. It's nicer if you're going to want to learn to read. Awesome. Like, you've helped me. But I'm not waiting for you to want something in order to dictate that this is good for you. Okay. Here's another example. My child doesn't want to get out in nature. My child doesn't want to learn to swim. My child doesn't want to hang out with our community or with friends. My child doesn't want, fill in the blank. Like, tough luck, Who cares? Not to sound unempathic, but really, like, who cares? If a child needs something for their development, for their well-being, then it would be really nice if they just naturally wanted that thing. But if they don't, we're still going to make sure they get it. Okay. We're still going to say, okay, we're going out in nature anyway. We're going to hang out with friends anyway. We're having a shower anyway. We're putting a seatbelt on anyway. We're eating healthy food anyway, whether you want to or not. Okay. So I think the problem here, Miss P as a unicorn, is that you're asking him too much what he wants. In our ultra individualistic society, we're so focused on what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to be when you grow up? What's your favorite ice cream? What's your favorite color? What do you want to eat for dinner? And he needs to be asked a little less what he wants and told a little more, this is what we're doing. Okay. Because he needs to feel a sense of belonging. He's not just a siloed off lone wolf individual, this blank canvas of like, oh, I don't know who my child is. He'll reveal his truth to me when he figures out who he is on the inside. No, you'll shape him. You will give him context, legacy, identity, ancestry, belonging. He's part of a lineage. He's part of a heritage. He's part of a culture. In our culture, we fill in the blank. I can tell you some of the cultures in my family home. In our culture, we eat as a family. In our culture, we go to sleep early. In our culture, we spend time with friends and family and we host them generously. In our culture, we get out in nature regularly, right? In our culture, we tell the truth no matter what. On and on and on. Okay. In our culture, we develop entrepreneurial ideas. We try to solve problems. We learn for the sake and the joy and the beauty of learning. Now, is this just, were all my kids just born believing all of these things? Nope, not at all. This is stuff that comes from me and my husband and our vision for our family, what we want for them. And we instruct them in it. We embed them in it. We create that family culture so that that's just a reality. It's not even a question. I don't need to ask, do you want to or not want to? That's what we do. That's who we are. That's how things go around here. Why? Because I'm a leader and I'm an authority and I've done my time developing my prefrontal cortex, becoming a responsible adult, developing a vision and wisdom for the future and an idea of how to raise children, figuring out what constitutes a good life, what constitutes good choices. I figured all of that out. So I'm not leaving it up to my 7-year-old to decide. Do you see? And then the other part of that is that you can make it enticing and exciting, seductive. It's fun to bake. It's fun to go out in nature. It's fun to learn new things. It's fun to challenge yourself. Okay, so whether you want to or not, we're going to start doing it. But eventually you get better at it. You start enjoying it. You start looking forward to it. Kind of like people who start running, right? Everybody hates it the first time. But by the 10th time, they're like, oh, got to get out for my run, right? They get addicted to that runner's high. They want it. So this is about leadership. And I can help you with that if you want the help. Okay. Couple last questions here and then we will wrap up. But if you have a question for me, I am having a no question goes unanswered policy this April. So make sure you send it in to me on my Instagram DMs, leave it on my Instagram story, or best of all, just put it on a YouTube comment and I will come back in and I will answer it. Okay. Madet says, mending insecure attachment. Okay. Mending insecure attachment is her biggest, what's it called? Challenge, right? A biggest parenting challenge. Okay. So I want to say that is something that I know can be really heartbreaking and really, scary for you if you feel like, oh, I don't have a secure attachment. I'm assuming that you mean with your child and not with your parent. If I got that wrong, please write into me, Madet, and tell me. But mending an insecure attachment with your child. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is to show up consistently for your child. Okay. Insecurely attached kids, they often test your love, right? But don't take that personally when they push you away, when they test boundaries, when they, I hate you, you're not my mommy, and that kind of thing. Take it as a cue to stay emotionally available, even when they act out or reject you. You can still correct the behavior, okay? But you want to try and drop the agenda, stop shaping them, just be there, okay? Just be with them. Quality time heals in that sense, right? Just be there and start to reinforce in their brain that you are a rock solid, reliable individual in their life. You're a strong figure in their life, okay? So you don't need to always be, oh, I'm trying to get them in the bath. I'm trying to get them to read. I'm trying to get them out the house. Sometimes you've just got to be, okay? Reading, snuggling, sitting nearby, okay? Just being there, right? Predictability. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be predictable, okay? They need to know that you're not going anywhere. And you can actually say that. Often you can say, I'm here. I love you. Nothing you can do can change that. And that's something that they might test and they need to learn, okay? Number 2 is you need to repair. Repair is one of those magic things in parenting. It kind of makes all the ills go away. I've had moments where I've done and said things that I regret and that I feel a shame hangover from, okay, the rupture is not actually the problem. The fact that you yelled, the fact that, you lost your cool, the fact that you walked into the next room and slammed the door, okay, that's not the problem. It's what you do next that really, really matters, okay? So when you lose it, when you shut down, when you make a mistake, circle back. Make sure to keep closing those open circuits, okay? So things aren't left open and they're not feeling like, I don't even know if this adult is with me. I don't even know if they are ever coming back. That's that insecurity. That's that ambivalence or that disorder when they're not sure. Okay. We need to build the trust and the connection, knowing that it will always return, that you will always return. Okay. So circle back, say, hey, I got upset earlier. It wasn't your fault. I'm really working on staying calm. I love you so much. I'm sorry. Okay. You need to rewire their beliefs through repeated corrective experiences. Okay. They need to keep learning and rewiring their brain to understand that you are here for good, that you are solid, that you are reliable, that you are dependable. Okay. Number 3, you've got to create a kind of a container for their emotional world, right? Kids attach more deeply when the boundaries are clear and the love is strong. They need high support. Yes, a lot of love, but also high expectations. Okay. And when you are worried that there's been an insecure attachment, and you're trying to rebuild, then you might compensate by being over empathic or being really lax about your rules, letting them walk all over you, letting them trespass your boundaries, letting them be rude, right? But you've got to set gentle, firm limits with warmth, especially as you're rebuilding this attachment. So you want to say, I won't let you speak to me that way. Okay. I'll come sit with you when you're ready to talk respectfully. Okay. Or you could say it in a curious tone, like, I wonder if you were feeling lonely when you shouted just then. Do you want a hug or do you want space? I do need to be spoken to respectfully, but I am here for you, right? So it's both of those things, that they are loved and supported, but also that they are secure in your boundaries, that you're not just going to let them now swing in the other direction, okay? So the insecure attachment, it heals through calm presence, okay? Relationship repair, consistent connection. You're not going to be perfect. You're still going to yell. You're still going to lose it. You're still going to be frustrated. But you do need to be available, attuned, and willing to try again, willing to come back. Okay. I hope that really helps. Madette, you wrote in another couple of questions about daily rhythm, about emotional mindfulness. I'm going to save those for my next session, but those are really, really important. And we're going to end with a kind of fun one from Janine, who says, I'm being busy bored with my 5-year-old. Okay. So the sense that I'm with my 5-year-old. I'm like busy, but I'm also really bored. There's something about parenting that can be both incredibly chaotic and overwhelming and kind of just a little bit slow, right? So sometimes we have to just be honest with ourselves and say, I love my child, but I'm just bored out of my mind sometimes, right? And that's fine. That doesn't make you a bad parent. That makes you human. I think we've all experienced that. But then I actually want to take you to one key tool that I think is really, really important. We're not all going to be super parents in every area of life, and it's ridiculous to try. You're not going to run an amazing home and an amazing schedule and be super bubbly and funny and active and playful and be really organized with all these amazing trips and experiences and be really attuned and loving and soft and gentle. No. What it is you're going to need to find your zone of genius in your parenting. Okay. We've all got strengths and weaknesses, and it would be helpful to double down on our strengths. Okay. For example, I don't like playing imaginative play. Okay. I don't like pretending to be a mermaid. I don't like zooming the trucks around. I don't like pretending. Okay. I just can't get into it. It bores me. And so I don't do it. Okay. I don't do it. And I think it's great for kids to play independently. I've written a whole book about it. Grab yours, reclaim play. Okay. Kids can play independently. They don't need me. I don't need to be involved there. Okay. I don't like getting all up in sibling arguments. Okay. I want them to solve their own problems. I don't want to be overly activated and involved. It triggers me. It annoys me. It gives me a headache. I'm very hands-off and borderline neglectful when it comes to that. Like if it's getting violent, I'll stop it and I'll coach them on how to communicate, just like I'm coaching here. But I'm not going to be overly activated. Sometimes you'll see my kids fighting and I'm just pottering around the kitchen because I know I'm going to get triggered. I don't want to be involved. I'm like a lioness lying back in the sun while the cubs figure it out. Okay. But there are some things that I'm going to be extra in. Okay. Oh, I love making costumes with my kids. I love doing arts and crafts with them. Cool. We'll get into it. We'll plan it out, etc., etc., etc. I love doing reading with my kids. I love teaching them to read. I love reading them books. And I love planning outings or vacations. Okay. So I'm going to double down in my zone of genius and what interests me and what's fun for me. And I'm going to let myself off the hook with the rest. I don't need to be perfect in all areas of life. It's really important that in parenting, you find what lights you up. This is the most meaningful adventure of your lifetime. You're raising the next generation. You are shaping the future. And so it would be wise to find your stride, to find your true colors in this, right? To find what lights you up, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to have to get up and do it all again tomorrow. And so it's better not to just, schlep yourself through the days really bored, right? But instead finding the way that you are going to enjoy it. Now, I also think that parents today are too involved. Okay. They're micromanaging. They are in the weeds. They're listening and reflecting and validating and problem solving and conflict resolution and, special time and quality time. And, all this stuff. Oh, it's too much. It's too much. I want you to kind of embody, right? Envision the hunter-gatherers. Okay, the moms are sitting chatting and doing their food prep or laundry or whatever they're doing with their hands, some busy work, some housework, and chatting with their adult friends. The kids are playing and they're running around, and all the adults are kind of keeping half an eye on them, but no one's hovering. Okay, it is not normal for an adult and a 5-year-old to spend all hours of the day together without other community. Of course, you're bored. You're not designed to spend your whole day alone with one 5-year-old, right? You're designed to be in community, to be chattering with other people. And the way that we have our modern day life set up, that is the reality for many of us, that we're just home with our kid. So you need to compensate for that by getting out, going to the park, meeting up with mom friends, creating a scenario in which you're not constantly kind of stuck with just the two of you, which is inevitably going to lead to boredom. But when you are stuck with just the two of you, you don't need to be managing the situation. Read a book, get on a call, do some work, do some self-care, do some housework. Focus a little bit more on you. There is no benefit to the child of you constantly hovering over them or looking at them or concerned with them. Okay. They would do much better if you just stood next to them and did your workout and they play. Right? You get your self-care, you feel good, you feel productive. They see a good role model. They're not having so much focus on them, so much attention, so they can just move on with their play and get into their imagination. And that is beneficial for both of you. As I said, we're all here building the most meaningful project of our lives, right? We're building something that literally shapes the future, and that's our families. And I really believe that family life can be adventurous, exciting, fascinating, enjoyable. But the way we're doing it in modern parenting is making us all very anxious, stressed, and isolated. And I am here on a mission to change that. I'm here on a mission to help you to build a strong family culture. And that is something that I can help you do inside of the studio. If the coaching that you heard here today resonated with you, if my videos resonated with you, the studio is like all of that, but just on steroids, because it's focused, it's structured, it's supported, there's community. And I very much hope that you'll check it out. highfam.com/the studio. I warmly invite you in. Much, much love, and keep those great questions coming.